Hey Chris, I hope you're doing well today. Thanks for corresponding with me. Let me try to help you out as much as I can and help you succeed, and we can raise the value of Donaldson as a whole. So don't hold me to this analysis I'm writing it in stone because I have not been in the house. That's the only thing, and I know because of your tenants, I normally wouldn't do this until I'd been into the house. But with your tenants, I wanted to try to make some allowances for that and put myself out there a little bit before I get in it. So I think I put in the email that basically if you want to try to get me in as doing a portfolio analysis for you, that's fine. It's called a BPO, broker price opinion, and just say, I need to decide where I am financially, and this real estate is a part of that. So I'm getting a BPO on my house, and that'll help me do a walkthrough. I'll talk to you soon. Alright, so getting started here, Chris. I have been through all of your photos and everything, and here's the past listing. As you can see, the tax record is where the estimated square footage comes from. So the tax record estimates 1,557. That's usually just kind of a good meter stick, even though it's not necessarily accurate. On a one-story house, we could do a measure, and a lot of times it'll come out in our favor to be a little bit higher, but unless you have finished off some space or something like that, that's going to be pretty close. So we may only get another 10-15 feet out of that. Two-story houses are different. That's another story. And so when we go to the next tab, what we look at is how you guys acquired the house. I went through the expired listings, and actually that was my neighbor Susan Solnick who had listed it and tried to sell it. Lived next to her for about 2 years, and I still own the property across the street from her. And anyway, so she tried to sell the house, let's see, at 159 and it expired. Now you might have bought it just after it expired, and that would make sense of it. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, 2009. You must have listed, let's see, 2007. I'm sorry. So that was the first time it expired. Then you guys came back and you bought it in 2008 for 151. Sadly, that was the top of the market. I bought some stuff then too. Bought 3 duplexes that I'm probably just now even on them, but I was probably upside down for a really long time. So and then you can see the tax appraisal here is 135. We're not going to worry about that too much. Tax appraisals are not very helpful, and we're in between years right now, so it's about to get jacked up pretty soon here. Anyway, so then here is our comparable sales. Now, the closed sales are the only ones that matter for appraisal. Pending sales do not matter. But I include pending and active, and we'll get into that in a second in my analysis. So first, let's look at the closed and pending. Again, closed is the only thing that counts. And I'm just going to hover over. Well, first of all, let me just pull this tab up real quick, and this will show you averages. So the list price on the pending one is $95 a square foot. The sales price on all these actives are 118, 122, 113, 101, 197. So as we decide where our house fits in all that, I'm going to then take that number and I'm going to multiply it by your square footage. I'm not going to show you the math. I'm doing that literally on a piece of paper in front of the computer, and I will go over that in the final. Okay, so as we hover over, you can see the square footage that it sold, that listed for, and that it sold for. So they listed at 127. They sold 118 a square foot. So that's a good price. We hope we can get 118 a square foot. So we're gonna click on that one real quickly and look at this. Now, outside photos looks really dramatic and cool. By the way, if we do get to the point where I list the house, I will take much better photos than any of these you see here. I think one of them has good photos, but we use professionals. So now the inside of the house doesn't blow me away. Obviously, all these old houses have hardwood floors underneath the carpet, but yet throughout the house we just have vinyl flooring, outdated appliances, very clean, staged well. Got some vinyl. I'm sorry, I said vinyl flooring in the kitchens and bathrooms. So looks clean, looks nice, staged decently, 118 a square foot. So let's go to the next one. And if we decide to sell at the end of fall, we'll have to update this whole analysis. Go to the next one. It sold for 122 a square foot. Now this is the one that I think they actually did the professional photos. And this is what I'd like to see your house looking like. I know it's not there yet, and I don't think it's going to be worth your time and money to do these upgrades, simply because the market's so hot right now. I think for every dollar you put in, you'd get a dollar out of it. I don't think it's going to be a good investment. They did do professional photos here, and you can see they've got hardwood floors, great style going on with the house. The floor in the kitchen looks to be a laminate hardwood, which is probably not a real hardwood. Formica countertops, painted cabinets. So that's nice style-wise, but not necessarily a great upgrade. That's good for us. That means it's accessible. So you get the idea. This is our best comp, and that's why I wanted to focus on that. So let's go back to the list, and I'm going to point out some of our low comps. First of all, the pending comp, we're not going to worry about too much, but they are priced at $95 a square foot, which worries you when you have an active house or a house that's selling for $95 a square foot. But you can click on it. It's a foreclosure real quickly. I've actually shown this house. When I looked at the pictures, I can't even remember who I showed it to, but you can tell that it's subpar. So still pretty rough in there. That means that, so we're now above that one. We're not going to have to worry about selling for $95 a square foot. All right, so then here we got this one at 112 a square foot, 103, and 103. So we want to see how we compare to the 112 a square foot. Okay, so again, vinyl flooring, Formica countertops, great cabinets. I mean, amazing cabinets, but they do have vinyl on top of them. Older appliances, no stainless. This was a sharp house. I showed this one as well. Great looking house. This would be a great comp if we could compete with this one. With the hardwood floors, I'm going to say we're still a little tick below that one. And I'm just going based on your pictures. Again, you might have done things that were not in the pictures, and I might get in there and completely be blown away. So I'm just going out that. Now then, here's the two that we don't want to be in comparison to too much, because they're also a lower price per square foot. But keep in mind the lower houses are the larger houses, so that's working in our favor. Your house is slightly smaller than this one. So we got linoleum floors, again, ugly bathrooms here, carpet everywhere, clean, that's good. You wouldn't believe the things I sell. So this one is a little haunting because it does have some, wood countertops and stuff, and I do think with the paneling, it's very similar to ours. However, they counted the basement square footage in this, and so even though it came out at a lower price per square foot, we're just gonna have to cull that one out. So in other words, this one probably should have sold for over 120 a square foot. If that makes sense. So that's the closed part of the analysis. Now we're going to do the fun part, which is called market retention and active market analysis. All right, and now what I'm doing here is I'm assuming a certain type of buyer, a buyer between the price of $150,000 and $200,000 who wants to live in a good part of Donaldson. Sometimes I just do an old part of Donaldson that is similar to your place, or a new part if that was what you were selling. But the inventory is so low right now, I did include a couple areas that are newer but are still good. And so what you look at is, okay, just imagine, and I meant to take this one out, so let's just ignore that one. I'll narrow, I know that area very well. So if we imagine we had $150,000, $200,000, what will it buy us? You have a 1,500 square foot house to sell. So this, for 180, you get this 1,300 square foot house. Awesome neighborhood, not necessarily any better than Mary Oaks, but a little more consolidated, that people know the name and shop just that neighborhood. 185 on Miami. I included this one because Miami is a long way away. It's in Donaldson, but it's on the river, and so it's a good little, it's not actually on the river, it's across from it, but it's a good little neighborhood. That only gets you 1,300 square feet over there. And then these next two are newer homes, If you had 185, that'd get you 1,400 square feet with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So that becomes a little bit of a competition for us. And then same neighborhood, 200 would get you 2,000 square feet. Obviously, these are cheaper because they're newer, they're not as established. And then I love this little neighborhood, even though it's a tiny little pocket. It's called Craig Mead, and 200,000. All right, Chris, and here's where the rubber meets the road, and we really start making these numbers make sense for our marketing. Um, there are some factors that are objective, and we can measure those, that appraisers use, that realtors use. Those are square footage, past sales, condition of the property, updates completed, basement square footage, and garage space. Now, I've already taken those into consideration when I picked the comparable sales. What's more important is for you and anybody else to recognize there are things that you like or that other people dislike that will affect the value of the house. So busy roads, pools, size of yard, access to the backyard, quality of the basement, storage space, outbuildings, and new home competition. Now, these things we can't put in numbers and won't show up in an appraisal, but it will bring more interest or less interest to the property and therefore result in a lower offering price. Now, this is what really matters here, is what I call the reality, our closed comps. Real Estate 101 tells you it's not a number that you can sell a house for if it's not a closed comps. And that's because the appraiser is always going to limit the transaction, and he's going to look at the same data that we're looking at right now. So I came up with 108 as the most likely price. Even though I know we had them up to 122 a square foot, I still have to consider that an appraiser is probably not going to pick that one as a comparable. He's going to pick some that were lower. So that puts you at 168,000 if you're selling for 108 a square foot. Now, that's the truth. That's the cold hard facts. But what I like to do is I try to raise the value in Donaldson every opportunity I can. And in this market, a lot of people will do the upgrades and things just to get a house. You saw how slim the competition was, and all those active houses that were in yellow, they're already under contract. So really, there's about 3 houses in Donaldson right now that I think if I was shopping for something like your house, those would also be on the table. So Fantasyland says the best possible appraisal we could get is 117. That's me cherry picking the best comps in Mary Oaks. And I went back about a year, so it's a little further than an appraiser would go, but that establishes trends. And since you may not list till the end of the summer, it just helps you get your bearings a little better. If I went less than a year, then I'd be pulling out of other neighborhoods that are not as good as Mary Oaks. So I'm trying to look at it from a glass half full perspective. So the list price on that would be $183,000. Now, in reality, that would be perfect scenario if we got 183, and it would mean that the appraiser did not make any adjustments for some of the features that have been upgraded or, in this case, restored back to normal, like the hardwood floors. So if I were to list this house, and if I was you, this is the number I'd be trying to get. I'd come to the market with a price of $179,900. Now, you're going to get that high of a price, in other words, to stretch comps, you're going to need a lot of marketing. You're going to need to bring your A game in terms of getting it out there, getting in front of people, and negotiating really hard so you don't give too much on the incentives and things like that we're going to offer to buyers. Now, at that number, you may need to negotiate down as much as $12,000. I think you can hold it there. So you'd want to make your changes in the first 3 weeks if you're driving traffic. If you're not driving traffic, you're just sitting there waiting for the best person who will pay for it. But if you're driving you got the boots on the ground walking through the house and you're not getting offers, you're going to need to make a price change in the first 3 weeks. That's the end of what's the bell curve in terms of the attention that you're drawing to the property. After that, you're playing catch up. So hope that helps, and if I can do anything for you guys, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. This is fun for me. I really have a good time with it, and I still like to see the inside of the property and help you guys make some good decisions. But even if we never do actual transaction together, I'm still here. I can provide you with contracts, anything you need. I hope y'all are having a good day. Thanks.